We are kicking off season 2 of Coleman on Purpose, and on this chapter, we sit down with singer and songwriter Lisa Nicole, a former group out of Eden, to discuss her journey to becoming a solo singer and changes she has encountered within the music industry. She also shares her experience on how she has stayed connected to her call and purpose. The first chapter of a new season of COP begins right now. Hello, Lisa
Hello,
Nicole.
David Coleman.
Hi. I am so excited to have you on the show, and this is like the first show that I'm doing for this season of Coleman on Purpose. Like it's a brand
Nice.
new year, and
Awesome.
I'm just ecstatic to have you on
Well,
here. And
thank
for those of people that don't know you that I'm introducing, because I can tell you
you.
way back when,
Right?
I just wanted you to like introduce yourself and let people know who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to have this conversation. My name is Lisa Nicole as an artist, Lisa Kimmy Winans as a human. And I am a singer songwriter, and I've been doing so pretty much my entire life. I live in the DMV area with my husband and daughter, Sophia. And, just a person that loves God and wants to use her gifts for Him. I come from out of Eden, which is how we know each other. A group with myself and my two sisters, and we did music from like 94 to 2006, 2007, and sold a ton of records and toured all over the world. And it was literally the best time of my life. Like, we had just such a good time. So I'm here representing for Andre and Danielle. So hello from them. And yeah,
That
that's
is,
me.
I remember, like I said, I for years, and that's how I kind of like know this because like I could only listen to Christian music. So like when I
Same,
was growing
same,
up,
except
like
sneak.
it was, yeah. And so this was, it connected with me. And so I always have had like this connection with that group. And now we get to experience like outside of the group, like Lisa Nicole. And this is like, it's amazing for me because I said, this is something that, like I said, I've listened to some of your solo work before, like that you've done on like other tracks. Like I remember, I don't know if it was a group or I remember there was one with Sonic Flood or
Yeah,
way back
yep,
when,
yep.
but I think that was with everybody. But you, of course, like you're
That was,
more
yeah,
like,
that one was just with me. Yeah.
got you. That's
Yeah,
what I
that was the
remember.
first,
Okay, so
I think the first one of just me, I'm pretty sure.
got you. So yeah, I remember that, and I know this industry has like been like it's changed rapidly since when I was like coming up. Like there,
Yes.
we had cassette tapes, and like I'm aging, like
No.
everything was a lot different. So what has changed now with you like walking into this new area, or this new season? Like what's kind of changed for you now between like with contemporary and gospel music now since it
I
started?
mean, I feel like the only thing that hasn't changed is like the message and that we sing songs. I mean, so
Right.
much has changed. I think about, when I released music, we sold CDs, and you made a substantial amount of income doing that. And I remember the advent of Napster and LimeWire, and I was like, oh, like this is going to be a thing. And I don't feel like our industry really got ahead of that as far as like artist protections and things like that. So we're still battling that, but streaming changed the game completely. Another thing that has changed the game is obviously like social media. So we didn't have any of that. Our label did all the promotions. We just showed up and, put clothes on and makeup, and then,
Mhm.
that was it. And now I feel like there's so much more responsibility on the artist, which in some ways is cool because you get to tell your story the way that you want to. But in other ways, I'm a music creator. I'm not a content creator. So I really struggle with that, and I'm just trying to, I can't fight it, so I'm trying to like embrace it in the way that I
Right.
can, and show my authentic self as best as I can. But it is a pain, just a real
Yeah.
pain.
It's different. It's way different now. And I always talk about how I feel like things are like recycled sometimes. Like I feel like we move in these different ways and then we eventually come back around. Cause I talked about the lack of just like I see the world industry like doing like vinyls again and different
Right,
things like that.
right.
You don't see it as much, so it's like it's almost like a game of like almost catch up sometimes. And I
Exactly,
feel like,
exactly,
yeah, but it's,
exactly.
I guess you just have to adjust like with the time. So
You
have you always
do.
wanted to be a solo? Have you always wanted to be like a solo singer, or was it always something you strive to do eventually?
No, I mean, well, I didn't always want to be a solo singer. So I wrote my first song when I was 5, and I wanted to be a doctor when I was 5.
What?
And that's really, was kind of the purpose that I thought, I really thought medicine was my path, and music was just like something that I enjoyed doing. But really only got into music professionally because I felt the call of God, and our mom pushed us into it. I remember we went to a DC Talk show, and they invited us to come, and we saw just the impact that they had on people from age 9 to 90, and we were like, okay, if God is giving us this opportunity, like we really need to take advantage of it. But it was
Right.
birthed through community. It was birthed through my sister. It was us together.
Right.
um, During the process of Out of Eden and the process of collaboration, I did have things that I was like more interested in or wanted to try musically. Um, that Out of Eden didn't really provide the best vehicle for that. So
Right.
that's kind of when I started thinking about being a solo artist. And then
Wow.
we retired, and I thought, I'll take a little bit of time off and I did a couple, like some theater and did some hosting, and thought I would get back to it, but I got married and had
Hmm.
Sophia, and really took a break, and I really had to kind of uh, adjust and accept that time and that purpose and that season in my life. But I think sometimes seasons can last too long. Like you can get a little bit too
Yeah.
comfortable, so that the thing that you kind of are known for or love or is you now becomes something scary. So I think I slept a little, I think I slept a little too long, got a little too
Yeah.
comfortable, but now I'm working my way back.
But look at this though, like that's exactly like that's one of the topics I'm going to be talking about like later on in this particular season is like that uncomfortable, those uncomfortable like seasons that we have
Yes.
sometimes, and like sometimes even though it's scary, I know it's the best place because this like even for me being on here, this is like uncomfortable territory.
Oh
So it's like,
wow.
but God is pushing me. Like this year, I said boldness was my word.
Yes.
So it's different things that I want to try to do, this year in order to just be like moving in my purpose and
Oh,
doing
I
things like
love
that.
that. I love that.
So has it differed for you like solo and then having to do now, well, you were group and now solo? How has that like differed for you working now solo and then with back then when like it was a group?
Well, I think, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like, I don't, this is probably not saved enough, but Tupac's All Eyes on Me. I'm like, it's like,
Everything.
literally, with being in a group, the decision making process, the focus, the attention, it's all spread out. It's not on any one person. The success or the failure is not on any one person. And ultimately we know that it's on the Lord, but in a practical sense, it doesn't necessarily fit my personality because I really like, I'm the oldest of 3 sisters and four
Mhm.
sis. Well, we have a half sister, and she's older than me, but I grew up with my 3 sisters, my 2 sisters, and I just like, linking arms and having that security blanket. But it is freeing in a sense because it does allow you to do exactly what you want to do. There's no need
Yeah,
for compromise. There's no need for, um, you can just really just be laser focused,
yeah,
which, also kind of presents its own thing because then it's like, okay, well, what do I want to do? Like, I've never had the opportunity to just do me. And so it's really a learning
mhm,
process, for sure.
yeah. Oh, I can only imagine. Like I said, it's so amazing like to watch it though because I said speaking of like the solo and everything like that, there's a song. Everybody knows it's been out for now. This is April, so it'll be out and it's has been out for a while. But same God
Yeah.
and. I go to Elevation. I'm wearing my little Elevation
Oh,
shirt today. I got my yeah.
man.
So when I heard you were doing it, I just want to be personal for just a moment because I said when I listened to that song, and I'm not even joking, like before I even got on here, I was just replaying. I was like, I'm gonna get in the mood. But it's such an anointed song that it's
Wow.
not even the mood. It just really, I'm telling you, and I'm not even trying to be funny,
Praise
like, or
God.
even. it puts you in the presence of God. And
Yeah.
I am so serious about how I feel about that song. It's so right now and it's so timely
Mm.
for what is like what people's season right now.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Well, it was timely for me. I listened to, I got really tuned into Elevation during the pandemic. I have an awesome church here in the DMV. Um, but I wasn't going. And I
Mhm.
really just, a friend sent me a Pastor Stephen Furtick message, and I just kind of tuned in, and just the way that they, um, were just so tapped in and so relevant just really spoke to me. So I would just, watch it all the time. And a friend of mine, I call her my Italian mom, sent me that song, just in a time that I, was just really going through some things. And I had heard it before, but it just hit completely different. And I was looking for a song to cover. I wanted to do a worship cover, and it just spoke to me so much. So I can't take much credit for that because I didn't write it. I wish I'd written it. But I'm really grateful to the way, grateful to Elevation, and grateful for the way that they just really press in, and just really, it just feels like the heart of God and the heart of the church is just, really forefront on their mind. I appreciate that.
Yeah, let me tell you though, like I think this is what I want to say. It's like yes, there's a writing of the song, and I love the writing is amazing because I listen to it every day, and then there's different interpretations of the song, and so for me to connect, sometimes it does take a different vehicle, like like I'm serious.
Yeah,
I
I
like
understand.
listening because I've listened to the harmonies of Out of Eden, and then all of the things, and then it's really something about even when you're saying he's a healer and different things
Mm,
like that in the song. There's different effects of the song, and even for you, I didn't you brought in certain people for like just to you brought in certain people for this song in order
yeah.
to like get it done. What was the process like putting
Yeah,
it
so the
together?
first step was, I knew that I wanted to work with Aaron Lindsay. He produced It Belongs to Me, and I just loved working with him. I love his musicality, but also Aaron is, he's so anointed. So I feel like he just puts something on it, and you get like the Holy Ghost just like flies in, like, here I am, come on.
Yep.
And so got with him first, and Josh Davis, someone that he works with, and just really like worked on the arrangement. And then I wanted to do an essential worker choir. Like, I wanted to have a choir, but I didn't want it to feel like slick. Like, I love slick vocals, like I love that, but I didn't want it to feel like that. I wanted it to feel um just every day, and like every man, if you will. And I think that's really important for this song, because that's the one thing that we can all connect to. Like, he's the same God for all of us, no matter
Yes.
your walk of life, no matter your
Yes.
gifting, your talent. And so for me, it was important, to bring that just everyday element to it. And I wanted to do something, to just kind of honor people that had a gift, and that had been, working while we were all freaking out in the pandemic. Like, they were working, and really putting themselves out there, and putting themselves in danger and at risk. And so I wanted to do something to honor that. So I called my friend Jason McGee, and he helped me put the choir together, and
Wow.
directed them. And it was just an amazing process. And one of the things that Aaron said, he was like, you're honoring essential workers. He was like, but this song, like, I feel like we're about to go into an even um, more challenging arena, and a more challenging season of life. And this song speaks to where we are. And
Wow.
I really believe that he was speaking prophetically in that.
Wow.
Mm.
Amazing. Like seriously, I was getting ready to comment. I heard you when you announced it. I was like, let me see. Because I'm a flight attendant. They considered us essential workers, but I was like, I'm not, yeah, I'm just gonna let them do that. Because
Uh,
there were people that were doing more. I feel like of course we were flying people, yes, that was a great thing, but there were so many people that put their lives on the line that were taking care of these people. And I said that is their time to
Mm,
really,
but I would have
it
loved to have you. You totally could.
oh my
I
gosh.
consider you essential. You totally could
Oh
have did it.
gosh. But so going from like solo, are we going to be getting or a full
We going to be getting a
album?
full album and whatnot. Um, yeah, I'm working on it. I think part of the reason why I wanted to do a cover, and I think we'll probably unpack this a little bit more later, but you have to put seed in the ground. And I was in the process of writing and trying to kind of just figure out like what my sound was and distill down to like what messages are important to me. And it was just, the movie Everything All at Everywhere All at Once.
Oh,
Like it
that was
was
crazy.
just
That movie was
it was
crazy.
crazy. That movie was crazy. But it just felt like that. Like it felt like I'm trying to write.
Yeah.
I'm trying to carve out time to work on social media. I'm trying to be, the best mom I could be. Like it was just so much that I wasn't really hearing very clearly. Um so I just kind of was like, but I do want to put seed in the ground. I do want to give God something to bless. And so that's what I chose to do with this song. And now there's a little bit more like room for me to breathe, and this ideas are starting to come a lot more freely. And
That's
so, yeah,
wonderful.
think I'm going to, just release some things on Spotify and app
Okay.
iTunes and just kind of Apple Music rather. I'm old. And rather just like, just keep putting things out there as I'm working towards a whole project.
We'll be looking for it.
Hey.
So, yeah, I will. So back in the day, like with Out of Eden, you sang in a group that was geared towards ministry. I feel like to a younger generation, when I was growing up, that was the type of music that we were listening to,
Yeah.
and which many of us now are adults.
Yeah.
So what is the message that you really want to get out for both the newcomers that are coming in to hear Lisa Nicole, and like the old heads like me who are like supporting you with this like new era of solo music?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, definitely with Out of Eden, we were ministering to our peers and people that were a little younger than us. And I think, and I hope that my audience has grown with me and that we can kind of talk and share about where we are now. I think for a lot of us, there's a lot of disillusionment. There's a lot of, life doesn't look like it did for our parents.
Yeah.
We're a little bit more self-aware and a little bit more enlightened, and with that comes questions about purpose. It's not the generations before us. It was like, this is what I do. And I feel like we're all like still searching and we're
Mhm.
struggling so much to be solid people, but we're talking about things that we just weren't talking about before. And so I want to tap into that. I want to tap into what it feels like to be a human right now, what it feels like to be a mom. I want to tap into what it feels like to be an African American. I want to tap into what it feels like to feel lost and feel afraid, and to, really want to know what God put you on this earth for. What is it to do? So I feel like you know, it's the same in the sense that I'm speaking this to the same people, but we're just, we're not in this place that we were before. We've grown and we've moved and we've
Yeah.
got new challenges, and I want to speak to that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Like I said, I feel like that's how our world is right now. Everything is so, we talk about this all the time. There's so much rapid things that are going on, and we're not
Yeah.
even having a chance to really catch
Right.
what's happening. So
Right.
it's like we're trying to like catch. It's like we're playing this catch up game, and then another thing is thrown, and we're
I
like,
mean,
what? What's going
it's
on?
crazy. And just with information, like I was, looking on Instagram, and I follow certain like psychologists and certain kind of like um thought leaders in terms of mental health and different things like
Yeah.
that. And there's so many different messages even in that, even amongst the experts. There's no
Yeah.
like, well, there's some consensus, but there's, not, consistent consensus.
Right.
And
Right.
so trying to like filter these things all through the word of God and filter things through, being a believer. That's what I hope to just not give the answer, but share the process, and
Right.
let people know that they're not in this by themselves.
So even through this, like you're talking about just processing things. So the show is all about purpose. Like God gave this to me like a year ago, and I
Love
had
that.
tried to do something like this a while back called the Differently Created Black Boy Man, and I tried to do it in like 2018. And I was like, well, okay, I did like 13 of those, and then I was like, okay, let me try something else. So this was a different vein where I can
Yeah.
really express things, and so you've walked down a long road. You've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And what would you say to somebody that is really still searching for how they fit into this world, like me? I'm being honest, like me, and how like their journey and finding their purpose, what would you say to somebody that's still searching, even in that moment, in those moments?
Well, so again, I don't have the answer, but I can share my experience.
Yes.
I think, like I mentioned earlier, I took a break from music. I still would sing on different, sing like on the Every Nation projects with my church, and sing whenever God gave me the opportunity. But I remember being in North Carolina. We were the worship pastors there. Awesome church, awesome people. But there was a huge part of me that felt unfulfilled and felt lost. And I'm somebody that I like to learn how to do a lot of different things, and I follow instructions really, really well so I can look like an expert. And
Hmm.
so, people are like, oh, I cook, you should open a restaurant, or you should do
Hmm.
catering, or you should do, all these different things. And I also grew up Word of Faith. So with Word of Faith, I don't know if you're familiar, but it
That's
felt like,
me. That's my family. Yep.
like it felt like either you're in the perfect will of God or lightning is going to strike. And you know what I mean? And
That is me.
it's a very scary place to live, because you're just like, is this God? Is this God? What about that? Is this God? And it can really create this, it can immobilize you. And I found myself in this place where I was like, I love music, but it feels so far away. And I've,
Mm.
stepped away from it for so long that the only thing that I really know how to do, and the only thing that I've ever done, feels scary to me, and I've
Right.
lost confidence in it. Um, and I don't know if it's what God wants me to do, which speaking it, I'm sure, to somebody who's like,
Yeah.
you've done this your whole life. But it really was like, does God want me to do this? Does he just want me to be, not just in the sense of it's not
Yeah.
valuable, but
Yeah.
it's just
No.
a
No.
wife
No.
and a mom, or like,
Yeah.
past, like what? And I did this book that I highly recommend, called Destiny by Bishop T.D. Jakes. I bought the
I gotta
book
read
and I
that.
bought the workbook, and I went through it, and it was just like, in retrospect, it was just so obvious, because I was putting all the other things that I could possibly do, but really it was music, like music, arts, entertainment. And
Right.
so I think what I would tell people that are looking for their purpose is, it's the thing, sometimes it's the thing that you are afraid of. It's the thing that
Mm.
you want to do more than anything, but you're afraid of it. It's the thing that you daydream about. It's the thing that when you're, walking around your house and you're like, you let your mind wander. It's that.
Yeah.
It's because God put desires in our heart, and it's all the noise and all the fear and all the insecurity that keeps us from just pursuing the really obvious thing. Um, and so for me, it was just like, okay, like, quit playing. Like, this is what you want to do. Be honest with yourself. And I think
Yeah.
that sometimes people do. You have to be honest with yourself, and you have to accept, this is what I want to do.
Right.
And just embrace it, and do, like Karima, my friend Karima told me, do it afraid. She just does it afraid. And that's what I think, you have to do. But I don't know. I don't believe that all the time it's as elusive as we say it is. I think that
Right.
it's right there in the forefront of our mind, but it's just shrouded in fear and doubt.
Yep. That's beautiful, 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 beautiful advice. And you were just giving me like what is the best piece of advice somebody has ever given you, just like walking this journey, if you've ever, is the do it afraid, or is it anything else that you would
Do It
say?
Afraid is up there for sure. Do
Right.
It Afraid is up there. Because I tend to be someone that kind of thinks, I'm a thinker. I like to
Right.
analyze, and I can give you the pros and the cons for anything and everything and talk myself out of it. But honestly, the best advice someone ever gave me, this was 100 years ago at my church, and the then chaplain of DC Talk, Michael Guido, went to my church also. And this is after, like, we toured with them, but he said, you're talented, you're gifted, you're beautiful, and the temptation is going to be to take that and take the attention and the response that you get from people, and internalize it, essentially, like hold on to it. And he was like, and
Mm.
that's really blasphemy, because God created you to be a reflection. So as much as you
Wow.
can, reflect him. Don't take it in, just use it to just
Mm.
reflect him. And that has truly been the best advice for me, because I think we weren't created to be worshiped, we were created to worship. And it's just a reminder to me, like, no matter what's happening, no matter what praise or applause or whatever, like, just reflect it and give it back to God. And it also allows me to sit in a space of, not that I don't care, but it doesn't define me. You know what I mean? So if
Right.
somebody
Right.
comments negatively on Instagram, I'm like, oh,
Right.
okay. Like, it doesn't matter,
Right.
because I'm not
Hmm.
living for that person. I'm really trying to live for God and to please him.
Man, that there's such a balance. Even when you were talking about just I was finally able to put a pinpoint on what I grew up in because it was always non-denominational. So you talking
Yes.
about that and really reflecting like what exactly I am actually going through a process at this time. So I wanted to throw this out, I'm always looking for ways to like get myself, inspired to do more. Cause, my first thing I would go to, of course, is like acting. I love arts, entertainment, all of that stuff is my niche. You remember I remember during the pandemic, I did a little out of Eden
Love
thing where I
that.
said, I put that through. I was like,
Amazing.
it was just so random. So those are the things that I love to do. I love to just be talking and having these conversations too. So, um, are there any tips that you would give somebody who is kind of unsure sometimes of all of the different pieces? You want that God has called you to do something great.
Yeah.
You know it deep down in your heart since you were young, and you wouldn't always have to push. You might not have always had to push, which I appreciate that your mother, your parents, they pushed you to do, to walk down that road and to do that stuff. What would you say to somebody who isn't really sure? You've had some kind of confidence, but maybe lacking, and then of course you're trying to fit in with a lot of things, but you don't want to because there's so many distractions out there.
Yeah.
What would you like tell somebody like that is walking through that process or that area?
Well, first, let me see. I think it's right here. So I have this. I haven't even like looked through this whole. It's still in the packaging. I've had this probably for a year.
Okay.
But I didn't even open it, because my favorite one, I'm sure, is in the front. And it says, the only way to get a thing done is to start to do it, then keep on doing it, and finally you'll finish it. And that's a quote by Langston Hughes, one of my favorite
Wow.
authors, poets. Um,
Yeah.
I think, we have so many distractions. There's so much just in our own mind. You know what I mean? Like, forget anybody else. Just the battle in our minds is huge. And so for me, I try to journal, and I like hate when somebody tells me to do it, because it sounds like, so like, oh gosh.
Okay.
But I try to journal, and I try to write. The Bible says, write the vision and make it plain. So as much as you can, get what you want to do out on paper. The big picture, just kind of like, for lack of a better term, throw up on the page and
You're
just
right.
get it out there. And then look at it, and then you can start to break it down a little bit. You can say,
Okay.
okay, I can work on this part, or I can work on this part. And sometimes you may not be motivated to, do one piece of the puzzle, but there's some
Hmm.
piece you can do. You may not feel creative. Okay, well, can you work on the budget? Can you do some research?
Mm.
I think
That's
it really is. We live in an amazing time in which there is the opportunity to do what you want to do. I mean, you look at like somebody like Issa Rae, who just put her things up on YouTube, and now she's who she is, and opening coffee shops and doing
yeah.
all the things. And sometimes I think hearing those stories can feel encouraging, but sometimes it can feel discouraging, because you're like, oh, well,
Yeah.
that can't happen anymore. But literally every day we're seeing people that have just done the work, um, have these amazing doors and these amazing
Yeah.
opportunities. So I think finding your focus and battling distraction. I read something about procrastination, that it's not, it's not laziness, it's a coping mechanism. And so for me,
Mm.
I will kind of say,
Mm.
okay, I'm going to work for this long, and then I'm going to play a game. Like, I'm not like, Instagram is not really like my distraction, because I kind of just get bored. But I like to play
Right.
games. I like to read. I like to just be busy. I like to go talk with my friends and go to lunch. But I'll give myself time to work, and then, okay, I'll take a little bit of a break and do something, but put a time limit on your break, because truth is, you have to put the work in. Like, there's no, I
Yeah.
wish there was a way around it, but you
Just
have to do it. So finding like different ways to be productive. I'm not feeling this, so let me try this. Has been helpful for me.
perfect. That good advice.
Thanks.
I took it. I take it all in because you sound similar. Like some of my friends tell me the same thing, and it's just getting it in your mind to do it. Because sometimes, like I said, growing up in that type of environment where is it God telling you to
Yes.
do this, or you'll just be afraid to like walk through that door or
Right.
to do those things. And
Right.
so God is pushing me this year.
That's
He said, "Go
good.
ahead,
That's good. Well,
let's push it out."
I'll tell you. So I did, a friend of mine, Lynette Lewis. She is an author. She was in the corporate world and then moved into ministry, and she does this purpose, like seminar, if you will. And
Okay.
she spoke on the parable of the talents. And she was like, the person that had 5 talents, like God gave them 5 talents, and they could have buried two and worked three just so they had like a little backup. You know what I mean? But
Right.
they went all in. And I think that's what God is calling us to do with our lives, is just go all in and just function on all cylinders. And when you're juggling, something may fall. You may try something, like you
Yeah.
said, you did this in 2018, and then you're
Right.
like, okay, but everything that you do, you learn from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You learn from, and you
Yeah.
grow, and you never know, like, we just don't know the end from the beginning. We don't know where God is taking us, and it would be awesome if it was just like pew, a straight line. But then
Right.
we wouldn't have the journey, we wouldn't have life, we wouldn't have stories, we wouldn't have anything
Yeah.
to use to encourage anybody else. So I'm proud of you
Thank
for what
you.
you're doing and plugging into your purpose. And I think it's really going to, I think your testimony is really going to bless people. And I just, pray blessings on what you're doing.
I really appreciate. Thank you. I really really thank you. Like this coming from somebody, like I've had all these full circle moments in my life. The first time was when we came down to your I came down to your church and
So
got to
fun.
do
Yes.
the praise seminar and everything. That was an amazing experience, and just how down to earth all of you were. Like just for me, it's something that you dream about a little bit, because it's like you're sitting here and you've listened to this, you've been dancing to all the music, and then you actually get to meet people who have inspired or have uplifted your life at some point in time.
Mm,
And I just wanted to I just go off the record sometimes, just encourage you that you are so on the right track
thank
with
you.
even this song. It's proof that you're definitely on the right track with what you're doing. Because like I said, different people have to hear it different ways sometimes, and sometimes God will choose a certain person to deliver it in a certain way that will minister life to them. And
Wow.
that's basically what your song has done for me. It's ministered life into me so I can
Wow.
continue to walk boldly before him. So
I really appreciate that.
I just wanted to
Like,
say
for
that.
real, I appreciate it. Like, you never
Yeah.
know what people are going through and what they're struggling with, and I just really appreciate that encouragement.
No, no problem. So is there anywhere where can they stream Same God?
Yes, you can stream God anywhere you listen to music: Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, Pandora,
Okay.
YouTube, Deezer, all of them. You can follow me at the_paper girl, and on Instagram. And yeah, I appreciate being here. This was a lot of fun, and it just felt like, super
Thank
chill,
you.
which I love.
Thank you. I'm glad. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it,
Of
Lisa.
course,
Thank
of
you.
course. God bless you.
I hope you really enjoyed that chapter of Coleman on Purpose. I really appreciate Lisa for taking out the time and sitting down and talking with me about everything that she said within there. I truly believe that in this life, everything is for a purpose. I usually say something at the end of every one of my videos, and I wanted to bring up the reason why I'm sitting down here in this particular place in my home. Usually I do my intro and outros like upstairs in the studio that I created for myself, but today I wanted to come back to everywhere that this started. Like this came from an idea that I had in 2021 to do something kind of telling my story. I've tried to do this many times, as I said on the podcast previously, and I wanted to come back to this place where I began with this silver mic that one of my
my friend's Ushi, she's a flight attendant of mine, she gave that to me. I still remember, Ushi, that you gave it to me. And even though I got this like fancy blue, a little bit more upgraded mic than the last one, I still remember where that began, because I had started using that mic with I started using it in my skits. I started using it to like do little ditties that I did at the beginning of some of my skits and stuff like that. But then I remembered why this mic was so important. Like I said, I've always had a mic in my hand ever since I was little. I used to have the pretend mic, or I'd be running around doing shows and holding a mic. Or I used to love how one of the ladies that sang in my church held a mic. And I said, man, this is part of my purpose. There is a reason why I've always been drawn to having a mic in front of me and all of that time. And it brought me back to part of my purpose is to be here and speaking and talking on something that does hold power, and it catches people's attention. And I love the power of that with podcasting. And I call this podcast, it's called purpose podcasting. And that's why I call it that, is because there is so much power within what you're releasing into this world through this mic. And so that's why I came back to this place where everything first began last April, when I recorded my very first chapter, Church Boy Gone Bad. I was in front of this mic doing this. And so I had to bring it back here just for this chapter, starting out this second season. I have so many things that are in store for the second season, so many great topics. I want to have so many more guests on here, and I'm just so appreciative of you guys for intaking it and always listening and letting me know you're listening. So make sure you do follow me. Let me know, like, comment, subscribe on this. Let people know about this podcast. Follow me on Instagram at DeluxeDave, DeluxeDave. Or you can always follow me on TikTok. I have 2 TikTok pages. One is for my personal self to have a little outlet at David, DAVIDJ Coleman. Or you can follow me at Coleman on Purpose. It's easy. Coleman on Purpose on TikTok. Follow me on each of those so you can keep up with what's going on this podcast and anything else I have going on. I want you to always remember that you are unique, you are loved, and you are created for greatness. Until next time, see you next chapter.